Do you feel like life is just passing you by? This one choice changed everything for Michael. Have you ever caught yourself staring out the window, wondering where all the excitement went, like you're watching your life unfold from the sidelines, trapped in routines that feel more like survival than living? Maybe you've told yourself, it's just the way things are now, and tried to make peace with it. But what if it didn't have to be that way? Meet Michael, a man who had every reason to believe that his best days were behind him. But one unexpected moment challenged everything he thought he knew about aging, fulfillment, and what it really means to be alive. His story isn't just a quiet reminder, it's a wake-up call. In this video, we'll walk alongside Michael as he discovers the hidden power of small shifts, how something as simple as a walk around the block or a new morning habit can spark a ripple effect that reignites everything. Stick around until the end, because Michael's transformation holds a mirror to your own journey and could be the spark you've been waiting for. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you don't miss out on our weekly stories that light a fire in your spirit. If this message hits home, type a 1 in the comments. If it doesn't resonate, leave a 0. Either way, your feedback helps shape every video I create. Now let's begin. Michael's life had become quiet. Not peaceful, not relaxing, just quiet. The kind of quiet that echoes with missed opportunities and what-ifs. He woke up every morning at 6:30 sharp. Same coffee, same radio station, same walk to the same bench in the same park. And yet, it all felt distant, like he was going through the motions of someone else's life. He wasn't unhappy, but he wasn't fulfilled either. Life had become a series of gray-toned days, all blending into one. No real pain, no real pleasure, just routine. Years had passed since his wife passed away, and with her went the laughter, the adventure, the spontaneity that once made the ordinary feel magical. His children were grown, his friends had their own lives, and somewhere along the way, Michael had quietly let go of the idea that life could surprise him again. But somewhere, buried under all the stillness, there was a flicker, a question that wouldn't go away. Is this really it? That question haunted him on slow mornings, when he sat on the porch, watching the world move while he stood still. He remembered a younger version of himself, eager, hopeful, full of fire. That man would have never believed that this was how the story would play out. And yet, here he was, breathing, yes, but barely living. Michael had told himself that aging meant slowing down, stepping back, making peace with less. But deep inside, he wasn't at peace at all. He was restless, stuck, and scared that the spark inside him might have burned out for good. Then, something shifted, and it didn't happen with a dramatic moment. It happened on a random Tuesday. Michael had gone to the park, as he always did, expecting nothing. But as he passed the fountain near the entrance, he noticed someone new. A woman, around his age, jogging, laughing, fully present in a way that felt rare. She stopped to tie her shoe, glanced up at Michael, and smiled like they'd known each other forever. Then she said something that hit him like a bolt of lightning. You know, it's never too late to fall in love. With life, I mean. She winked, stood, and jogged away. Michael stood frozen. Not because he was in love with her, but because those words struck a nerve. It wasn't about romance. It was about something bigger. He hadn't realized how much he'd given up, how long he'd been walking through life with his head down. Was it really not too late? That night, Michael lay in bed thinking. Her words looped in his mind, and for the first time in years, he didn't feel tired. He felt curious. So the next morning, he made a decision. Not a big one, just something small. Instead of the usual instant coffee and buttered toast, he tried making a smoothie. It felt silly, unnecessary, but something about it felt fresh. That tiny choice unlocked something inside him. He felt a bit more alert that day, a little lighter. The next day, he added a few stretches to his morning routine. At first, his joints protested, but slowly, the stiffness began to melt. Then, he walked a little farther in the park, not to reach a goal, just to see how it felt. And it felt good. Those small steps turned into something bigger, something real. Not a total reinvention, just tiny wins that reminded Michael he was still in control, still capable, still alive. Every change was a challenge, but it was also a choice. Soon he started seeing her again, the jogger from the fountain. Her name was Evelyn. She had stories of her own, loss, resilience, rediscovery. They began talking, just a few words here and there, then full conversations, then laughter. It wasn't a romance, not yet, maybe never, but it was a connection, and Michael hadn't realized how much he'd missed being seen, heard, felt. Evelyn became a kind of mirror, a reminder of what was possible. And as the weeks went on, Michael's world got brighter. He tried painting again, something he hadn't done in decades. He called his daughter, not out of obligation, but because he wanted to hear her voice. He even helped a neighbor with yard work and found joy in the sweat and soreness of doing something physical. The change wasn't loud or flashy. It didn't make headlines, but it mattered. Because the truth is, transformation doesn't need an audience. It just needs one willing heart. And Michael's heart, it was finally awake again. The ripple effect of Michael's small changes didn't stop with him. People around him started to notice, not because he was showing off, but because there was something different in the way he carried himself now. Lighter, more alive. His posture had shifted. His eyes, once dull and distant, had a new kind of brightness. Even his voice, when he spoke, carried a quiet energy that hadn't been there before. It wasn't that life had suddenly become perfect. He still had aches. Some nights were lonelier than others. But the difference now? He was showing up for himself, every day, in ways that used to feel impossible. One afternoon, while helping the local librarian move boxes for a community book sale, Michael found himself laughing, hard. That deep belly laugh that feels like a release. When was the last time he'd laughed like that? He couldn't even remember. That night, he journaled for the first time in years, just a few lines. Today, I felt like myself again. Not the man the world sees, but the man I forgot I could be. And that's the thing. So many of us think we have to overhaul our entire lives to feel alive again. Quit our jobs, move across the country, start a business, hit the gym 5 days a week. But Michael learned the truth. Big changes rarely last. Small changes build the life you actually want. That truth became his anchor. And before he knew it, other parts of his life started to shift naturally. He cut back on the news that drained him, started listening to jazz again, something he used to love, even started cooking new recipes instead of reheating frozen meals. He still went to the park every morning, but now he walked with purpose, sometimes alone, sometimes with Evelyn. They talked about books, about music, about the weird way time speeds up as you get older, and about the moments that slow everything down. Evelyn wasn't trying to fix him, and he wasn't trying to impress her. They were just there, sharing space, walking their own paths, side by side. It was enough, and for Michael, that kind of quiet companionship was more meaningful than any grand romance. Then came the moment that truly sealed it. It was a Saturday, overcast, breezy, the kind of weather that makes you nostalgic for no reason. Michael was sitting at his old bench, the same one he'd visited 1,000 times before, but this time it didn't feel like a place of waiting. It felt like a place of reflection. A young man sat beside him, probably in his early 20s, head down, shoulders slumped. You could feel the heaviness on him from a mile away. Michael didn't say anything at first, but then quietly, he asked, "You all right, son?" The young man shrugged. "Just feel stuck? Like nothing I do matters." Michael nodded. That feeling was familiar, too familiar. He looked at the boy and said something that came straight from the new place he now lived in, this space of hard-earned clarity. "You know, I used to feel like that every day. Thought the world had forgotten me, but the truth is, I had forgotten myself first. You don't need a big reason to start changing. You just need a little momentum, one small move. That's it." The young man looked at him. Like what? Michael smiled. Start with a walk? They sat in silence for a moment longer. Then the young man stood, thanked him, and walked off. And as Michael watched him go, he felt something stir in his chest. Not pride, not ego, just peace. Like his journey, however ordinary it looked from the outside, had become something bigger than himself. He was no longer waiting to be rescued from his life. He had become the rescuer of his own spirit, and maybe now of others too. Over the following months, Michael's quiet transformation continued to ripple outward. He didn't set out to be a mentor or a role model. He just kept doing the work, walking every day, eating with care, reading books that made him think, and saying yes to life, more often than he said maybe later. But word spread. That young man from the bench, he started showing up at the park more often. Sometimes they walked together, sometimes not. But each time they crossed paths, he gave Michael a respectful nod, a silent thank you. Others joined too, a middle-aged woman going through a painful divorce, a retired firefighter grappling with depression, a single mom who said she just needed a break from the noise. Somehow, they all found their way to that park, and to Michael, not because he had all the answers, but because he had walked through his own darkness and come out holding light, and people could feel that. One day, after a group walk, someone jokingly said, "You should start a club or something." Michael laughed, but the idea stuck. 2 weeks later, the Quiet Reclaimers was born. No fees, no lectures, just people showing up for themselves and each other, one morning walk at a time. What started as a personal journey had become a community. It was never about fixing broken people. It was about reminding each other we were never broken to begin with. We were just tired, disconnected, and craving a reason to start again. And Michael had become living proof that you are never too old, too lost, or too late to change. One morning, almost a full year after his journey began, Michael sat at his old bench again, alone this time. The sky was streaked with color, dawn rising slowly like a promise. He took a deep breath, letting the cool air fill his lungs. He thought about everything he had regained, not in material things, but in meaning. His health, his joy, his purpose, the people who now walked beside him, and the man he had become. Not the man life had tried to mold out of fear and routine, but the man he had chosen to be, with intention, with patience, and with heart. He stood, brushed off his coat, and took that first step forward. Same bench, same park, but a whole new beginning. Because the truth is, life doesn't change when you wait. It changes when you begin, slowly, quietly, consistently, until one day, the life you thought was behind you becomes the one you're finally living. Michael didn't find a miracle. He became one, and so can you. So ask yourself, what's one small decision you can make today to reclaim your story? Because sometimes all it takes is a single step to begin again. If this story spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Someone you know might be one quiet decision away from changing their life too. And if you're ready to start your journey, drop a yes in the comments below. Let's build this movement, one story at a time. You're not alone. You never were. Let's walk this path together. See you in the next video.